Welcome to the second half of KISS Community Connections, 103.1 KISS FM. Phyllis Jones, I'm still your host, and I hope you have had time to go get some water and whatever else you need to go get to recompose, because guess what? We're going to talk about KISD, because they asked for us to talk about them. They did. They've said, please talk about us. Just please continue talking about us. But we're going to go back to, there was a couple of incidents that happened this week that threw people all the way into left field. First of all, there was a Facebook post, and it came from somebody a kid who goes to KISD school, and his suggestion was fight on Friday because there was only 2 Fridays left of school. So he named places, and he picked it that Friday that these fights are going to take place on, and it hit Facebook. And I got it. People shared it to me. I don't know how many times. And I shared it out. And also I called the police chief, Margaret Young. Well, she's an interim police chief. Called her. She said they were aware of it. And I asked her what they're going to do about it. And she said the KISD police and the the Harker Heights Police Department and the Killeen Police Department were monitoring it to see if anything happened, and they were ready and prepared. Well, Friday came and nothing happened. But my thing is, this hit the Facebook faster than it hit the news, which is normal lately than the news. It also hits faster than parents got calls for. So you had parents weren't called yet, but it had Facebook, and that was an issue because parents were concerned. I mean, gee, you don't know who was going to be fighting or where it was going to be fighting. I said the point is that the fight was going to happen. My other thing is, it was on the news later, and then the next day it was in the paper. And luckily nothing did happen. But I think we need to change our reactionary time to how we do things. This is 2017. And our kids are angry, they're frustrated, and they're bored. And when those 3 things happen, kids do things that are crazy, that don't even make sense. You know, so this Facebook post that came up, to me it was a wake up that we need to pay attention. We need to pay attention to more than just there's some, as people would say, some bad kids in KISD that need, to be spanked or whooped, punished, or put in jail or whatever like that. I see it as another way. It's a cry for help and a cry for attention, and not the negative attention, it's positive attention. I looked around, I thought of it the other way. First of all, yeah, the kid who did it needs to get in trouble for what he did. Yes, he does. But also I look at, in our lovely city, we don't have enough things to do for our young people to get rid of some of that energy. People will say, well, they're sports. Not all kids are sports. All kids don't play basketball, football, baseball, soccer, kickball. They don't do that. We don't have all that. Some kids are musically inclined kids. Some kids tell stories. They sing. They do various things. But, in our city, and in our schools, there's nothing to challenge that and to charter that or to help that out. After school is closed. When schools are closed, schools close. We don't have any after school programs in the schools, in the neighborhood schools, where kids can go to and get some of the things that they like to do out, to do some of the idle things they have. You have phone apps, as we have right now, and you have phone games, and you have gamers. You have kids who want to learn how to make games for cell phones and for computers and just games, period. And some people look at that as not anything, but that's huge. It's really huge. A lot of kids have become business people by just making games and getting them started. But I see that as a help that we need to do. We need to step in more and do some and create things for our kids. But don't create things that you think they want. We need to ask the kids, what do they want? We need to say, hey, listen, what do you think about this? Would you like to see that? We need to ask them what they would like, and then we need to fulfill that because it's missing. Our kids are doing some crazy things. They're, even the city council is talking about creating a curfew for our kids because they're out and there's crimes being committed because some people think it's because of the curfew. I'll go back to the fact of we need more things for our kids to do. Our social programs that we used to have years ago, through the different many presidents we've had of the United States, some of the social programs keep disappearing. and they're disappearing to basically none, to now you have cities and states that are responsible for the social programs that our kids have. You know, before there used to be camps in the summer for kids to go to get things done, to do what they needed to do. They no longer exist. Now there are grants out there to create programs. We need to start doing that because we need to redirect. I don't think always the the right way to do it is to punish the kids, because that doesn't teach them anything except for, you do this, I'm gonna do that. And we start punishing them, then we just leading them, to me, from, we're doing the school to pipeline issue to jail. We don't need to do that. But we need to talk to our kids. We need to, like I said, give them things to do. I talked to somebody and she was like, well, there's many things to do. Yeah, it's all sports. But not, like I said, not all kids are sports related kids. They're not. You have kids, like I said, who want to create games, and we need to have an entity that helps them create games. You might think of it as silly, but you have kids that are making big money nowadays. You have created games, you know, and create things. And right now we have he's a 16-year-old kid. He was at one of the programs that are after school. He was more of the scientific kid, but he invented a tool that a doctor can use. He's 16 and he's a millionaire, all because he had a place to go after school where his creativity could expand, and they expanded it to that. You know, so imagine what our kids will have once we build into them. You know, it's okay, kid, like, you know, when I'll say some of us were growing up, you came home from school, you did your homework, and you went to the Y. You went to this area, you went to that, but you went to things where enriched you, kept you motivated in the right direction, and kept you in gear. But we keep taking those things away. Like I said, each president of the United States we've had, some of the things they've taken away are our social programs, you know, which to me led to, like I said, the school to pipeline, prison, you know, bam, bam, bam. This is where child's in. Because if kids are idle, they do stupid things, just like adults. If we have idle time, we would do dumb things. You know, we could be idly in a meeting, and where we're at, we're talking to so-and-so, we're texting somebody, we're doing some crazy things. Theirs is just different from ours. So like I said, that Facebook post, I think one of the schools should have reacted a little bit faster when they found out about it, and let the parents know, and created an awareness to where parents were felt safe. A lot of parents did not send their kids to school Friday because they were in fear of something happening. Luckily, as we know, nothing happened at high school anyway. But at a middle school, you had 3 all-out fights at a middle school. I mean, they just got ridiculous. But theirs wasn't on Friday, it was on Thursday. You had some middle schools, well, 2 in particular, they had all-out fights. And when it boiled down to nothing, it boiled down to nothing. You know, they have fights over stuff that we should just say quit. You know, if I push a kid into you, you know, now it's an all-out fight to death. And beforehand, you turn around and tell that kid, quit pushing you. You gave him one little threat, don't push me no more. And then he told you it was him. Then you went to him, hey, listen, quit doing that. I don't play that. I said, and it was over with. Well, now kids are more violent. They just going to go fight out and all because they just want to fight and need to win the fight. But to me, we need to look at, like I said, the other way around and repair what's going on and not just simply punish. That's not always the best way. We need to talk to our kids, and we need to have more programs. We have enough groups and organizations in Killeen. We have enough grants out there that we can write for to do some of the programs. You know, we have churches. Churches used to be about the community. Now they're about business. But churches used to be open after school, and they had tutoring. They had different events at the church where your kid could go after school. You know, after school, they go to the church and stay there until you get off, and they did different activities there. But, you know, now the church is only open when the church has something to do. They're not open for the community anymore because they switch gears. They forgot who they are. So that's not there anymore. But we need to go back and create things for our kids to help them out, to get them out of trouble. You know, punishing them, not it. Changing the curfew, what's that's going to do? We're going to have more kids locked up, more kids in trouble. Because, you know, when you change the curfew, will the kids know? Nope. You're going to put it, if the city changes the curfew through the police department, they're going to put it in the newspaper. I don't know if any 16-year-old, whatever, who reads the newspaper. None do. They don't. So it's not going to be, the parents might skim it. Most likely don't read it because not many people read the paper. It's not going to be a big blast about it. It's going to be quietly, secretly done, and then you're going to have a whole bunch of kids falling into it. So, and I don't think, like I said, I don't think punishment is always the way. Sometimes you have to educate them on the other way and offer them things to do, and we can channelize that. Now, we had another incident in school, at a middle school. Middle school's been busy. A little boy tried to leave middle school, and they made it sound like the police officer, you know, was almost beaten unconscious. Well, sorry, he wasn't. The boy tried to leave. The police officer said no, and a fight started. And the boy didn't leave school, but the policeman did get hurt. He didn't get beat down to a pulp. He's still living. He's all right. He can go back to work. But that's all that happened. And I'm glad he was there because the kid did not need to leave school. But once again, we need to find out why he wanted to leave school. What was so pressing he had to leave school? You know, like I said, once again, instead of thinking about how to punish that kid, he might need to be punished. But first of all, I need to know why he was doing it. Just where was he going? Just what was going on that he felt he needed to get up and leave. So we need to find those things out. You know, then we read yesterday on Facebook again that elementary school, a teacher was arrested for some kind of assault on a kindergartner, and the kindergartner told parents, you know what, we need to talk to our kids about improper touching, what an improper touch is, and what it is, what it looks like, and where it's inappropriate to touch them at. We need to tell kids that. We need to know that our kids are aware of he touched me, or, you know, she touched me, and where. And we need to get our kids out of that threat, because that threat becomes, if you tell, this is going to happen. Well, our kids need to be told to tell, just to tell, period, to tell, because if they don't tell, the action gets worse and it continues, and then other kids get hurt. So I'm glad that little kid stepped up and said what they said, because if not, if the teacher did it, because it's alleged, if the teacher actually did it, he won't be doing it again. But then again, we need to start having the conversations with our children. And a lot of our children that happened to don't say anything because they don't get any love at home. You know, by accident, people need to know you need to hug your kid. You know, they need hugs, touch, play, you know, look at them, I love you, talk to them. You know, they need that interaction so that they know they have a safe place and they know what it is. Some kids get touched by adults, older men, older women, whatever, you know, and to them it's the only touch they've ever gotten that's comforting, so it's fine. You know, they look at it as, you know, it's fine, I'm getting something. You know, it's like the kid who acts up, because that's the only time he's going to get attention is when he's bad. His parents going to yell at him, fuss at him, putting him on punishment, but guess what? You're giving him some time, and that's the only way he knows to get it. So when things like that happen to our children, we need to make sure that they tell us, your parents. If they see another teacher in the school before they get to you, or another staff person in the school before they get home to you, they need to tell them. They need to be telling everybody. And we need to teach our kids to do just what this little child did. And I'll say allegedly, because we haven't, you know, we don't know yet, but since it's been alleged, we need to take heed to it. But it was all over Facebook yesterday. I read it, you know, and I think, and I don't know if this parent, she put it on Facebook because she got a call from the school. And immediately the alarming thing was, at this particular school, there was a whole bunch of things going on at this one school that the parents were talking about, as far as keeping things under the carpet, you know, keeping things quiet. But parents, we need to stop all those things. And we parents, and I don't have any kids in school, I have grandkids in school, I don't have any kids in school, but still we need to make sure that the schools are where we send our kids are. We need to check out the schools. You need to write the principal at your child's campus and ask them, what kind of school do you have? How many kids have failed and passed the test? How many kids have been sent to DEAP, which is your alternative campuses? You need to ask the principal all these things about the school. You need to be interviewing that principal, because your kids are going to be going there. So to me, you need to interview that principal. You need to know as much about that principal and that school as legally possible to know, so that when your child sets foot in that building, they're safe and they're okay, and you have open communication. So interview that principal. Principal might get a little bit upset, a little teed off a little bit there, but it's not about the principal. It's about your child being in that school. So I say it again, call. Ask the principal, how many kids have been sent to DAP? How many of your staff have been, what's your turnover rate of your staff? If the school's got a high turnover rate, something's wrong somewhere. If they, teacher says, we haven't sent any kids to DAP. Well, principal said that, that's not true. But you want to know. You can also file open records requests through KISD and find out those things about the schools that you need to know before your child is placed in there. Because you got to remember, your child's life is in the school's hands for the majority of their day. Put it this way, most of their waking day, they're in school. So you want to make sure that their waking day is spent learning, not spent any other way, that they're learning, that they're not going to school and they're afraid to go in there because this teacher is like this or this teacher is like that. You got to make sure that they're not afraid of those things. You got to be aware, parents. I mean, when you drop your kid off, make sure that they go into a building that you've done your homework on. Just like you do your homework and research when you go find a job, you want to know how the place is, what's going on, and all these things. Well, you want to do the same thing when your child goes to school. You want to make sure that they're safe, that they're there. Now, the other parents, when you find out your child is acting up in school or acting up during that time frame of school, you need to do something about it. Please don't come. And the last thing you do, don't come to the school saying, my child don't do this. My child doesn't do that. You know why? Because you don't know what your child's going to do when they leave you. When they leave your house, you have no clue. Kids are up under peer pressure. And, you might say it's not that bad. I'll tell you, yes, it is, because I work in elementary school, and you hear it. You hear it. You see it. We had it was a girl, she was in 5th grade. And her whole thing was that she got talked about so bad in school that she thought about committing suicide in school, not at home, in school, because peer pressure, kids trying to make her do something she didn't want to do, so she thought about committing suicide. That lets me know our schools are in trouble and our kids are in trouble and they're crying for help. And what are we doing? Nothing. We're not doing anything. And if we say and they're not out tomorrow, they are today. If we say we want them to grow up right, then we all need to make sure they grow up right. We keep lying to ourselves and saying it take a village to raise a child. Well, I'll say then the kids live in the wrong village, because obviously the villagers don't know what a village is. The villagers don't know what a village is, because we got too many things going on in our schools. We got too many things going on in our cities. We got too many things going on where this village issue, we don't know. We need to go back and read what a village actually is, because our village is distorted. It's distorted from the point of our council now going on. Let's lower this curfew because it's going to keep the kids straight. Well, it's not. It's not. It's a law, and it's not going to work unless everybody's on board with it. We talked about it at a meeting the other day. A mindset, the curfew and all the ins and outs of it. And is it going to solve a problem? No. In our schools, we have, kids are not supposed to leave the school, but what did we find out last week? Little boys are going to leave the school, and he beat up the police officer because he wouldn't let them leave the school. So we need to come together and find some peace into this, because we're heading all in the wrong direction. So if we don't find any peace, we get more chaos. And that's what we're getting right now, more and more chaos. And we're not paying attention. Everybody's leading their own lives, and you stand in your own doors. And what you're saying is this doesn't have anything to do with me. Yes, it does. It really does. Because I'll say this, when you don't when we don't step out there to try to get children in gear, and don't try to help them go the right way or teach them to go the right way, they're gonna be breaking in your house tomorrow. And that's the plain old truth. We either work with them today, give them to the direction that they need to go in, give them some helpful tools to make it and survive and to move forward, or they're going to turn to whatever they know the best and whatever their friends are doing the best. They're going to turn into that, because you know what? For that moment, it looks cool. And for that moment, they do it. And as we know, our children, as much as we beat it into their heads, the right and the wrong, every now and then you got somebody that's going to say something and make you go left. And we adults do it too, not criminally wise, but you could say, I'm not going to this event, I'm not going there. Somebody call you up and you go, yeah, okay, I think I might go there. Oh yeah, I could have been wrong. And you go, and all you want to do is smack yourself to figure out, why am I here? You're here because same thing. We do the same thing they do, just a little differently. But so when we can't say that we don't recognize things, because we do it, it's just different than the way they do it, but we do it. Peer pressure, adults suffer from it, and also you let kids know that peer pressure and bullying are hand in hand. They're friends. They're almost the same thing. They really are. And your kids need to also learn about being bullied by their friends to do what they don't want to do, which is peer pressure, same thing. They need to know those two words go hand in hand. Those two words cause problems. Those two words are done to them, can be done to you as an adult too. Parents can bully their kids. Teachers can bully students. And the peer pressure from teachers onto a student is very strong. Because you got to remember, your child's waking day is spent in school, not with you. Spent in school, because when you get them at home, it's winding down time for them. It's time for them to get their homework done, eat dinner, spend a little few minutes just chilling, and then they're going to bed to go back to school the next day. So we need to think about all those things that I've talked about as far as KISD, being a parent, school, and also go back to the city council and do what we need to do, and just get to work, and I'll say this, my motto is, not for the radio, but my motto for life is, until your forefathers have touched you on the shoulder and tell you job well done, you have no right to sit down. Because if they sat down, we don't know where we'd be. We wouldn't be where we are now, and some of the things we do, we wouldn't be allowed to do. So I want to thank you for listening to KISS Community Connections, 103.1 KISS FM. Also, remember what I said we need to do. And also, if you're on my Facebook page, check it out. And I'm going to have the phone numbers to all your council people and their email addresses out there, so you can call them and do what we need to do, so they can get back in control, and let them know that, we can take you out like we did before. But I want you to always remember, you cannot lead a positive life with a negative mind. We'll talk to you next Sunday. Bye now.